Hello and welcome to the news at 7, where we get to the heart of the day's stories and communities across Scotland tonight. As a couple fear for their son's safety after the sudden closure of a hospital ward for people with profound learning disabilities, we'll hear from a mother who's been through a similar ordeal and says hope should prevail.
Fraser, if you're hearing this, I want you to know that we all want to keep you safe.
We'll hear how Kate Sainsbury's son Louis is thriving in his new environment and why she believes others can too. Also tonight, think before you buy online. As Amazon Prime Day approaches, we'll get expert advice about how to avoid a surge in scammers. Of course, we will have all the sport with Lewis. What have you got for us tonight?
Well, Amy, I speak to an amateur who has just achieved every golfer's dream to qualify for the Open. Oh, and he's 18 years old.
Quite incredible. And we will also find out why parking fines are soaring on the Isle of Skye and hear about the success of a Scottish Women's Festival for single parents. Hello, I'm Amy Irons and thanks for joining us for Wednesday's News at 7. The parents of a young man with profound learning disabilities have told BBC Scotland of their shock and stress at learning his hospital ward is to close in a matter of weeks with no clear plan as to where or how he will be relocated. Andrew and Karen Malcolm from Ayrshire were given just a month's notice about the decision, which will impact 6 inpatients, including their son Fraser. Experts say a safe transition from hospitals to a home environment generally takes 3 to 6 months. The Malcolms have been speaking to our social affairs correspondent Lucy Adams.
Fraser doesn't know what's happening. I physically can't really do that anymore. I'll do anything for my son. Karen will do anything for Fraser. And there just doesn't seem to be any, for what is supposed to be a caring environment, they neither care about Fraser or us as a family. And, you know, we get told all the time that it's Fraser focused. It's absolutely not patient focused. It's
people
just
go
not.
People go into hospital to get made better, not worse. And Fraser's so much worse now than he was when he went in there. We've got a totally different person, and I just have to hope that he's still in there, and as he moves away from it, that we get the old Fraser back.
Now the Malcolms chatting to Lucy Adams. Well, the Malcolms are not the first Scottish family to find themselves in limbo after the sudden closure of hospital wards, but others who have been through the ordeal are fighting to secure a safe future for Fraser. Nicole Nicholson has been hearing from one of them.
A big welcome here today from Louis, who says, welcome to my wonderful house.
Louis Sainsbury has lived in his own home for 3 years now. His mum Kate fought tirelessly for this safe space after he was moved to a hospital ward far from the family home in Perthshire. Kate relates strongly to the trauma faced by Karen and Andrew Malcolm and their son Fraser.
It triggers all my worst memories of what it felt like when my son was similarly expelled, sent 250 miles away to a place where there was no transition and where he was utterly terrified and where he's been deeply harmed.
Kate founded a charity, the HL Trust, to support people with profound learning disabilities and autism, their families and carers. Other such groups agree with Kate that health and social care partnerships should have plans in place for vulnerable patients to avoid an abrupt and often distressing discharge from wards.
I think the proactive part of it is if someone needs to go into a hospital, they get treated for the treatable things, and the plan starts as soon as they're admitted about how they will leave the hospital and leave the hospital well.
At the heart of my experience is learning that the only way forward is to collaborate and to see how we can work together. That means professionals and families, but it doesn't mean just professionals sending a letter to a family saying this is happening, choose A or B.
It took a full year for Louis to transition safely from hospital to home. But now he's not only at peace, he's an active part of Kate's charity in his own right.
Louis hosted a reception at Scottish Parliament in February, and he was shining. He was so loving doing it. And then he led a group of us to Iona, and again, how he loved it and how the people in the Iona community loved welcoming Louis.
Kate will continue to support the Malcolms as they strive for Fraser's safety and security. It's a desperate time for the Malcolms at the moment, but Louis should hopefully serve as a beacon of hope, a beacon of optimism, of possibility. Is that what you hope is going to happen here?
I want to say directly to Fraser, because the TV's often on a ward. Fraser, if you're hearing this, I want you to know that we all want to keep you safe. This is Macadam for safe, isn't it, Fraser? And we want to keep you safe.
It was Kate Sainsbury ending that report from Nicholson. Well, in response to the concerns raised, Caroline Cameron, Director of North Ayrshire Health and Social Care Partnership, said Fraser Malcolm's ward was an increasingly unsuitable physical environment and there had been incidences of violence and aggression. She said they had struggled to recruit and retain staff and there have been challenges moving patients out to more appropriate community settings. She added that despite a focused and intensive support over a period of time, the challenges in Ward 7A have not improved and it is no longer suitable for patients to remain there. Now, it's the time of year when retailers launch their summer sales and try to lure us in with a bargain, but there is a warning that fraudsters are now using artificial intelligence to help them create ever more convincing online scams. Advice Direct Scotland says criminals will target shoppers by imitating the biggest online marketplaces, including Amazon Prime Day events coming up next week. Well, I spoke to Hazel Knowles from that consumer advice service and asked her about the rise in the number of Scots who've been caught out by these sophisticated scams.
Yeah, so we've seen a huge increase in the last 5 years in online scams in particular. I think that's due to the change in the way we live our lives. We're more online now than we were 5 years ago. We used to see many more tech scams, but now people know how to avoid them. And with the rise of AI, scams can look much more realistic than they ever did before, so people are likely to be caught out more often.
So tell us just exactly, or give us an idea certainly, of the kind of things that people should be looking out for, because as you say, I'm sure AI is making it even more difficult to spot. So
the best advice is just to always be wary of anything, particularly when you're sent a link or something to click on. That's kind of always been the advice, but I think they're becoming more and more convincing. So people might think, oh, well, this is a legitimate message from a website I'm signed up to or a platform I'm signed up to, and I need to click this link in order to verify my identity or something like that. So just always double check, go back to the original website rather than just kind of accessing through a link you might have been sent.
And Hazel, if somebody does think they've been scammed, if they have clicked on that link and then thought, oh goodness, what have I done? They've realised then afterwards and it's too late. What can they do? What are the first steps they should take?
So the first steps, always maybe have a look at the website that you think you were clicking from. So if that was Amazon, say, have a look and see, you can speak to their customer service, where did they send you something or not. We would always advise you to change your passwords if that happens, particularly for anything that would be maybe like a banking app or something like that. What can happen if someone gains access through a link to your phone is they might have access to other things on your phone or to your passwords, which would give them access to other apps. So change passwords, update passwords if you think you've been hacked. If you're worried about money, speak to your bank. If you have gone down the road further and actually given your bank details or transferred money, again, the best place to contact would be your bank in the first instance.
Hazel Knowles, thank you so much. Really vital advice there. Thanks for joining us on the programme.
Thank you.
Now, bad parking has been a problem on Skye for a long time. And it turns out in the last year, £400,000 worth of fines were issued by the traffic wardens brought in to try and tackle the problem. Highland Council said visitors to the island made up a significant proportion of the 7,011 people served with a £100 penalty charge notice in 2024. Tourist hotspots like the store and the fairy pools were some of the most common areas for fines to be handed out. Mark Crothall is from the Scottish Tourism Alliance and gave us his reaction.
Clearly there are, there's further enforcement taking place as well on the island, and that's right. You wouldn't want people to park illegally and not observe what is the law. But yes, Skye, of course, draws a huge number of tourists. It's got a great natural appeal. And, you know, thankfully, over the last few years as well, we've seen some investment into infrastructure and actually designated parking areas grow, where there's a revenue that's of £700,000 that's also been gained. And, you know, we would hope to see the monies raised through that collection, and if those fines that have been collected by Highland Council and not by the police authority, then of course that's money that could also be reinvested in continuing to improve the parking spaces and the parking availability on the island. And you know, I've said before today, the last thing I think is tourists would want to be seen to be disrupting local communities or breaking the law, and they would just want to enjoy all the lovely attributes that Skye has to offer.
Yeah, I think, Mark, it would be very easy, wouldn't it, to point the fingers and say, oh, there's tourists coming and they're not parking as they should. But in many cases, most cases, probably people coming who don't know the area, they want to see parts of Scotland, and they're finding that maybe the infrastructure isn't able to cope with this demand.
Well, we don't have over-tourism in Scotland. I'd like to make that point quite clear. We have pinch points and pressure points where obviously infrastructure does cause issue, or lack of infrastructure makes it more difficult for people to visit and stay. But a key role is also of the destination management organisations that exist across the different geographies of Scotland. So they're able to help, you know, manage tourism activity on the ground, keep visitors to those destinations informed up front and where to go and how best to experience the island without causing disruption. And Visit Scotland themselves do a great piece of work and have a website where people can go and look in advance of how best to travel and, as I say, where to find parking and park safely and observe, you know, what we would hope to be, you know, the beautiful spaces and keep them clean and tidy. But, you know, that's not to say, unfortunately, there are one or two rogues, and we have to make sure that we continue to educate. Scotland's national tourism strategy, I co-chair that strategic forum with the Minister. It's very much, you know, centred on responsible tourism for a sustainable future, and being responsible is something that we would hope and encourage all tourists to do.
That was Mark Crothall there from the Scottish Tourism Alliance. Now, it is one of the world's oldest film festivals, but after a tricky couple of years financially, many feared the Edinburgh International Film Festival might have lost some of its sparkle. Well, fear not. As our arts correspondent Pauline McLean reports, the event is back with a bang this August, and its programme, which was launched today, features one name guaranteed to leave you starry-eyed.
Well, the 78th Edinburgh International Film Festival programme has just been launched. I have in my hand the programme itself, and the programme's director, Paul Ridd, is here with me now. Paul, what does it mean to have this brochure out there and be able to tell the public what's in this year's programme?
Well, you can probably tell by my face I'm just absolutely overwhelmed and so excited about getting this finally out into the world. That programme represents months and months of hard work from my amazing team, and what it says is that we are out and we are back and we are here with a new edition of the festival that speaks to so much of what makes global cinema exciting.
Because it's been a difficult few years. I mean, there was a point in 2022 that we thought that the film festival was no more, everything had to close down, but you did come back, and it came back and has gradually been building since. Have you had support from ordinary film fans or people just wanting to support this festival and see it come back?
Absolutely. I mean, like when I came into post with my festival producer Emma Bower at the end of 23, what I knew was that there was so much love and passion for the cinema in the city and beyond, and I knew that we were inheriting this amazing legacy of the festival, which has existed for 70 plus years. But I think what we really wanted to do is speak to that passion and respond to it and find ways for people to find entry points into new films, new cinema, as well as old films. So I'm very glad to say our programme reflects a whole range of world premiere films, as well as some shorts and lots of kind of repertory as well, and guest speakers. So it really runs the gamut, and there's something for everyone.
And you mentioned about shorts. There's a very short film with a very big name attached to it. Tell us about how you landed Renée Zellweger.
I mean, it's absolutely thrilling to have that film in selection. We were approached by the producers of the film very early on in our planning process. We saw the film, which is this beautiful animation film called They, and what we saw was an iconic star turning her hand to something completely different and producing and directing something that was really, really kind of powerful. So we really wanted to have that film in our selection, and we're just so thrilled to have it within a shorts programme of animation films that sits right at the heart of the festival.
And will she come to the festival to see that world premiere?
I'm afraid I have to remain tight-lipped on that at the moment. We've got lots of announcements coming out in the next few weeks about who's coming. But what I can say is that we are absolutely overwhelmed to have films by Renée and films by all kinds of filmmakers playing in the festival.
Well, Paul, I don't know about Renée Zellweger, but I will definitely be here for the festival this year, which runs from the 14th to the 20th of August at various venues, including this one, the Cameo Cinema, and also the newly reopened and much missed Film House.
Paul, and yes, we'll be keeping our eyes peeled to see if Renée Zellweger does in fact turn up at the festival. Still to come, we will see how the weather is looking with Judith. But before all of that, it is a bit of sport time with Lewis. And Lewis, we're talking about a boy who was actually unknown until, what, the last 24 hours
ago to me,
Quite
anyway.
Incredible.
Can you remember what you were doing at 18 years of age?
I don't think I could tell you in this programme probably what I was doing at 18 years of age. Certainly not achieving what this boy
Maybe that was a
anyway.
bad question from me, but you certainly weren't qualifying for the Open, Amy.
No.
That's for sure. Hello there. Well, it's the dream for every golfer, that's for sure, playing at the Open Championship. And it is one that's come true for this man here, Conor Graham. Remember the name? The 18-year-old from Blairgowrie, who was one of 5 who came through qualifying at Dundonald Links last night to earn his place at Portrush later this month. I caught up with him earlier and started by asking how he's feeling after an incredible 24 hours.
Yeah, delighted. It was a long day, nervy day yesterday, but was delighted to kind of get the job done and kind of secure my spot in the Open.
Can you talk me through your nerves going into a playoff like that? I mean, it's one thing to get to the point where you're on the brink of qualifying, but to then have to go into a playoff against a fellow Scot as well, and Paul O'Hara, to then get over the line. What were the nerves like in the moment?
Yeah, it was pretty nervy. I mean, I was almost more nervous waiting around because I'd finished quite a bit before he had, and then there was, a few guys that could have knocked me out, but I ended up coming down to Paul, and then, it was a nervy wait for a while, and then kind of when I got to the first tee, there was still a lot of nerves there.
And then you get it over the line with a birdie on the playoff hole. Incredible. What was it like in the immediate aftermath with your family?
It was, just like everyone was so excited, so happy to be able to, for me to be able to kind of get that spot.
Can you give me a little bit of your backstory as to your golfing career to date? You are only 18 years of age, so it is not the longest story yet, and there's such a big stage of it all in front of you. But can you tell me about your journey so far?
Yeah, I mean, I started golf from, a young age. My dad was a half-decent golfer. He got me into it, pretty early, and then I've just kind of worked my way up from, club golf to county to national level, and then now here able to play kind of on the biggest stages.
When you say a half-decent golfer, your standards are very high, so that means he's a very good golfer, doesn't it, Conor? But can you tell me, would you agree with that?
I mean, I think he used to be, better than he is now, so yeah.
Well, tell me, what's he feeling like then? I'm sure he'll be kind of planning the journey over and getting to Portrush in a couple of weeks to watch it. How many of the family are going to be going with you?
I think a good amount, will be trying to come over and try and kind of get over for that week. So yeah, I think a good few.
Yeah, and I guess you'll learn so much about your own game when you go into a major, won't you? What sort of things will you hope to take out of what's going to be very competitive naturally at that stage in golf, but it's going to be a really big weekend for you. If you can hopefully last till the weekend as well, that'd be a huge achievement, wouldn't it, at the Open?
Yeah, definitely. That'd be, definitely a big goal kind of going into the week, but, just try to just enjoy it as much as possible, try and gain a lot of experience because hopefully it'll be the first of many, and just try and, go out there and not have too many expectations and just go out kind of and enjoy the week.
Amateur golfer Conor Graham speaking to me earlier, and the best of luck to him at the Open in a few weeks' time. Now to tennis, and Cameron Norrie thanked the Court 1 crowd for their backing as he knocked out 12th seed Francis Tiafoe. Norrie fought back from a set down to win in 4 sets. It's the first time he's beaten a top 20 player at Wimbledon, and he's done it on what he calls his favourite court.
I think we both played a really high level and I stayed so calm. I was just playing point for point and I served really well and I was enjoying the battle, and it was really nice to play Francis in a big match here at Wimbledon. And I was really happy with my level, and I didn't really drop too much, and I was just happy to get over the line in the end, and I served well in that last game. So, and you guys were amazing in that last game too, so thank you.
And you can read more on that one and also about Rangers' newest recruit, midfielder Joe Rothwell, who has signed on a 3-year deal from Bournemouth. It's all on the BBC Sports Scotland website right there for you. So there you go, Amy. Covering it all for you, as always.
Thanks very much, Lewis. Great to hear from Conor Graham. No 18-year-old is going to give their parents credit for anything.
Never, never. Absolutely love it. He's like us all.
Sticking with it. Thanks, Lewis. And we are actually sticking with a sporting theme because it's 10 days till the Island Games in Orkney, the biggest international multi-sports event taking place in Scotland this year. Athletes from the hosts, Shetland and the Western Isles, will go up against other island groups from around the world. David Deldy has been finding all about the preparations.
Well, there's been a number of things happening in Orkney this week that don't normally happen. Temporary spectator stands being put up, portable toilet blocks appearing, and a huge delivery of marquees and tents. And that all because in about 10 days' time, then there will be a huge influx of visitors from right across the world. Around 2,000 competitors and officials and loads more spectators on top of that. Well, those are sure signs the Island Games is happening. So too what's going on behind me. Team Orkney meeting up in the same place at the same time for the very first time. Loads of excitement here, and in particular from the man that will lead Orkney into the opening ceremony.
Certainly very, very honoured, very chuffed, privileged, I would say. Obviously, I've known a lot of the flag bearers before. Very privileged for them. My brother's done it in the previous games, and yeah, it'll be good.
The Olympics has the Olympic flame. The Island Games, perhaps quite aptly, has a water ceremony. Each area takes waters from around its shores, which is then mixed in a giant water feature at the opening ceremony. Carrying it into that ceremony will be Orkney's youngest competitor, swimmer Tamsin Blowfield.
I think it'll be a very good experience, and I'm doing quite a few swims across all the distances and lots of different strokes and stuff, so I think it'll be good because I'll get to experience all the different events.
Shetland too have announced their flag bearer. It's experienced triathlete Lindsay Henderson, while Katie Dinwoodie, a young sprinter, will be their water carrier. But if you're wanting to find out who'll be doing it for the Western Isles, well, you'll have to wait just a wee bit longer. They're keeping theirs under wraps till the opening ceremony itself. David Deldy, reporting Scotland, Orkney.
Oh, can't wait to find out about that. Now, a mum from Dundee has set up a string of festivals for one-parent families. Elaine Harris came up with the idea during the COVID pandemic and is now running 5 single-parent festivals across the UK, beginning with Douglaswood near Monarchy next week. Earlier, I spoke to Elaine and asked her how she came up with the idea.
It was during COVID. I was looking for different things that were happening, and we're quite a social family. So after COVID happened, you're looking for non-commercial events that don't break the bank, that don't spiral out of control. And after speaking to quite a few different families, I also found from them that they were worried about or they didn't holiday on their own because they were worried about being on their own, not having company, others being in families. So I kind of had a eureka moment and thought there's nothing out there that brings single parent families together. And I thought, why don't I have a festival and keep the price as low as I can and include as much as I can for that price?
It's a lovely idea, Elaine. Give us an idea then of just what the festival involves. What does it look like from start to finish?
So I've put it's jam-packed full of stuff. So to give you a kind of rough idea, in the mornings we actually have childcare between 10 and 12. So that could be a creche, it could be primary age clubs, even a teen club. And that gives parents a chance to relax. They can just go and chill out. Or they can try an activity themselves. Now, that could be anything from Reiki to bushcraft. After lunch, we've then got drop-in family activities. And again, that could be a laser tag or storytelling, so loads of different things. An arts and crafts zone follows that with live music. So we've got loads of local musicians playing. And then a bonfire for some marshmallow roasting and more live music. And then we've got entertainment that runs on into the evening. So the idea is that there's something really there to suit everybody, whether that be little tots to teens to adults.
And Elaine, what's the feedback been like? Why do you think this is so important for single parents?
Oh, the feedback's been amazing. The main thing is that, you know, single parents are all coming on their own to this. So we're all in the same boat. So it's so much easier for people to get chatting to each other because they're all in the same situation. And some of the feedback that we've been having has been everything from that people didn't want to leave, that they can't wait to come back again next year. It's the best holiday ever. And I think my favourite comment was that somebody said they weren't sure what to expect and they were a bit nervous to come, but they said that it was like walking into a big hug.
Oh, walking into a big hug. Elaine, that sounds ideal. And the fact that it is growing across the country just shows how popular it truly has proven to be already. Elaine Harris, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, something that we all hope for when we're talking about a festival is the sunshine, but we don't often get it, do we, Judith? What's it looking like?
It's always a mixed bag in Scotland, isn't it?
Take the wellies.
Yeah, exactly. Always take your wellies. That's a good advice, exactly. And this is Aberdeen earlier on. We saw a lot of rain across eastern Scotland. I hold my hands up. We didn't see that coming. It really energised. So there's some really heavy downpours. Thank you. Good evening across eastern Scotland. But thankfully that's all clearing away. In contrast, though, take a jump up to the Northern Isles. It was a glorious day here and out to the west as well. It was pretty nice here. Lots of sunshine. And tonight, that rain and those showers die away. A brief ridge of high pressure. This frontal system coming in tomorrow, bringing some showers across the country and a fresh breeze. Then the next system moving in for Friday, and that low pressure sitting across to the north of us, I should say, for the weekend. So rain or showers never too far away, and pretty much on the coastside as well. This is the picture first thing tomorrow. A fairly cloudy start in the west. The first signs of those showers into the west coast. Some early brightness, I think, across the east. It could be quite chilly for the borders. Angus, Aberdeenshire first thing, but all the while those showers starting to pep up along western coastal areas. The winds picking up here as well, freshening. A dry, bright start for the Northern Isles, but it won't be long till it starts to cloud over across Orkney. Shetland hanging on to the sunshine for the longest though. So that frontal system moving in, breaking up into showers. So really it's showers extending across the country as we head through the course of the day. And I think with shelter from that southwesterly breeze, something a bit brighter up towards the northeast and maybe East Lothian and the eastern borders where we could see 17, maybe 18 Celsius, but a cool feel and a fresh breeze strong at times up the west coast. Then as we head through tomorrow evening, the showers continue for a while before easing, a drier spell. Then we'll see the next front approaching from the west, bringing some rain. And here's that frontal system out to the west. That gets its act together and starts to spread in across western and northern Scotland as we head through the day. Some really heavy pulses of rain across the west, the upslopes of western Scotland. A few lighter rain in the east with a wee bit of brightness here and there as well. This is a picture for the weekend. Well, it's shower symbols or rain symbols. A bit of and maybe a bit of brightness in between times as well, but it will be unsettled or changeable if you like. Slightly warmer on Sunday though.
A lot of blue in there, Judith.
Oh, wet.
Thank you very much.
Showers, I don't know how to put it.
I will be back tomorrow at 7. We'll be speaking to Scottish members of a choir heading out to Australia to support the British and Irish Lions. We will see you then for that. Bye-bye.